Hi, welcome to the Motown India show. My name is Roy P. Tharian. They say an apple a day keeps the doctor away. A lot of people don't realize that apple is costly. It costs anywhere between 200 rupees or 300 rupees per kilo. So that means a lot of people in India cannot really afford an apple a day. And this is exactly the same with social distancing. Well, there is no denying the fact that we need to keep a social distance, which is the only way to get rid of coronavirus threat. But the very important factor is that many of the people in India cannot afford social distancing. So what does it all mean? We're going to talk to Shruti Verma, a counseling psychologist who's based in Delhi, and we're going to ask her some questions on social distancing, what it does to our mind and bodies, what it means to stay at home, and what it means for the rich, and what it means for the poor and the homeless, and those who live in small houses or shanties. Let's have this telephonic chat with her. Welcome to the Motown India show, Shruti Verma. Thank you so much for taking a few questions.
Thank you very much, Roy, for inviting me.
Yeah, okay, let's get on with the questions. First and foremost, Shruti, the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi recently called for a complete lockdown following the coronavirus threat, and that means people have been asked to practice social distancing. So even if you are out buying essential goods, you have to maintain social distancing. I hope you agree it's good for the country.
Yeah, except that I prefer to call it physical distancing rather than social distancing, because you really need to maintain that physical distance, and that's really the only way to sort of contain the pandemic, really. And if you look at the countries who haven't been able to do that, those are the countries that are suffering the most at this point in time, whether that's Italy or America. So that for lack of any other cure for this pandemic, I think social distancing or physical distancing is the only way out at the moment.
Okay, well, and Mr. Modi also mentioned something about a Lakshman Rekha. He urged people not to step out of their homes unless, of course, it's of urgent importance. And now I guess in affluent homes, that's kind of okay. I mean, you have the luxury of spreading yourself thin and enjoying a private space. But in India, Shruti, a majority of people are poor and from the lower middle class, and they live in one-room shanties or in homes which have got very limited rooms. So maybe 8 to 10 are there confined in a single room. So how's it going to be for them? Can this claustrophobic space create some kind of a behavioral change in them?
See, when you talk about confining any person to any physical space, whether we live in 5-room apartments or we live in the slum areas where 10 people are living in the same space, when you isolate people in a small space, it actually mimics all the key symptoms of depression that we have. Mm-hmm. You are socially isolated, which means that you don't have as much social contact as you used to having, whether it's going out and meeting your friends or family on social occasions or just to go play, right? That's the first marker of depression, which is social isolation, and that's what we are getting people to do in a small space of their homes. The second marker of depression, as I see it, is that you don't go out and seek pleasure. In this case, you can't go out and seek pleasure. And the third marker is that you slow down your physical movement. And when you especially talk about slums and people living in places like Dharavi, where 10 people are contained in one small dwelling, then there is no scope for slowing down of any kind of physical movement. They are meant to be confined in that small social space. So I think when you do that, you are headed for a large population undergoing depression, and I won't be surprised if after this pandemic we have higher suicidal rates, to be honest. But the thing is, at this point in time, we don't really have a choice, because it's the only way to go if we have any hope of containing this illness. Mm-hmm. Having said that, if we specifically come to the slums, the fact of small dwellings is that there are 20 people, families perhaps, who are sharing the same washroom and they have to go out. So the whole concept of Lakshman Rekha does not really hold good for them, whether it's to go out to the washroom or they don't have running tap water like us, and they have to go and fetch buckets of water for themselves. So in that case also हम एक लक्ष्मण रेखा का उल्लंघन करेंगे.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. That's quite interesting. And of course, when it comes to the homeless, I guess they have no option but to be on the streets, I guess.
That is the unfortunate part, and we do run the risk of this disease spreading wider with the homeless. So I think certain steps need to be taken by the government, whether it's about taking these people, the homeless, into their shelters or having some sort of units. We are creating other isolation units for COVID patients, but we need to create certain units even for this homeless, because there is a high risk of the pandemic becoming bigger even in India, which is so well contained at this point in time, by leaving these people out on the streets. I think we need to take some serious steps to build shelters, even if they are temporary at the moment. I think we need to look into that.
Okay, but what about kids who refuse to stay put at home? They insist on going out and playing. I mean, is that dangerous, or is it something which is kind of okay?
Since we are maintaining physical distance and kids going out in the playgrounds or anywhere out to play, they also run the risk of spreading this. And once it comes in the home, whether it's bigger homes or smaller slums, they are going to spread it across to the entire family members. And there would be people from all kinds of age groups within that family. And we do understand right now that it's the senior citizens who run higher risk. So even though they are children out there playing, they might be bringing the disease home. So I think we can take some innovative steps at home to contain these children and keep them amused, even if it is through playing some family games or entertainment systems, Netflix, or we can just innovate certain games at home, get them onto some online courses. These days, all the schools are taking huge efforts to do yoga classes online, some physical activities online where the kids can just turn it on and start imitating that. Or they can be enrolled in some smaller courses like Vedic math, etc. And there are a whole host of. So we can really, come up with these creative ways to keep the children happy and entertained at home as well.
Yeah, assuming that, of course, you have space and all the extra infrastructure for that, I presume.
Yeah, but if we're talking about people who are not so, they don't come from the affluent class or have lesser means, then, we can have family games which don't have to cost a dime within that space. And it can actually also act as the time where you bond with your family. Mm-hmm. I think those kind of things will have to be innovated, because these are special times and they call for special measures.
Wonderful, Shruti. I guess a lot of people will be hearing this and they would get their cues as what to do. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. And if I could just give across a message to everybody, especially who come from a slightly privileged class,
yes,
that I'm sure we all know some people who live on daily wages. So if we have to help them out in any way, I think we are privileged enough to donate soap and toilet cleaner and a sack of rice, if nothing else, because they also need to maintain that hygiene level at their home and feed themselves. I think we could all do that.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Shruti.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah.